Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this page, watching our webinar. Just to tell you about our format, we'll have a 60-minute conversation, which will consist of a 15-minute presentation and a discussion. Our webinars will be published every second Saturday on YouTube. You will get a reminder if you are a subscriber. And during the webinar, we'll be asking questions to our speaker, including the ones we've got and the ones that you have sent us before. After watching, please share your impressions in our LinkedIn group. We have a new group now called Innovative Universities, and also just using the hashtag Innovative Universities and tagging either one of them. Finally, in terms of our team, we are still the two co-hosts, Isak Fruman and I. We've also got a great, fantastic supporting system. We've got Alexandra Martinchuk for our manager and Zainab Tan as our student assistant. And our steering committee, just like in the previous seasons and in previous webinars, is helping us to identify the most interesting cases of innovative higher education institutions around the world. Isak?
Dear colleagues, welcome to our new format of our webinar. I hope it will be as interactive, maybe not as synchronous as it used to be, but we would be happy to have your feedback and comments and questions for further presenters. Today we present very, I would say in a sense, traditional, the university that looks traditional from the first view, but in reality it's very relatively new phenomenon when big companies, oil companies, gas companies, IT companies, retail companies, have their own universities. And it's not corporate universities. We will try to understand the nature of such university, because if you go to a wonderful country in Caucasus, Azerbaijan, and you would ask someone about oil university, they would probably direct you to Azerbaijan Oil Industry University. It's traditional university established in Soviet times, but at some point, the government of Azerbaijan and its state oil company decided to open new oil university, which has a name Baku Higher Oil School. And today we are going to open this case and to understand why this decision was made. What is the nature of this university, which has this strong, almost symbiotic connection with big industry? Is it the future of higher education, or it's just a marginal phenomenon? So it's my great pleasure today to introduce Vice Rector for Education and Science at Baku Higher Oil School, Dr. Sevda Zargarova. Our presenter today is chemical engineer, her own, and so she knows the industry very well. She worked as a dean at this university, and Dr. Zargarova, it's our pleasure, and the floor is yours. As usual, you start with the presentation. We might ask you questions during the presentation, and then we'll have a discussion.
Thank you, Dara, and thank you, Isak, for introducing our university and our country. Let me just give some details before starting my presentation. As you mentioned, Azerbaijan and oil are this is the traditional job for Azerbaijan nationality, that's correct. And most probably you know about the location of Azerbaijan in the map. So this is the like in the middle of the east and west. The same way our university is the middle of the traditional job, but in the new view, in the new perspectives. Let me to give information to give the presentation and underline what I mean by those terms. So I am Sevda Zargarova, as you mentioned, Vice Rector of the Baku Higher Oil School, which is established in and here you can see my detailed information about the emails, about the website of our university. And let me to say that our university was established in 2011. And this is the higher educational institution, which is established by SOCAR. Let's underline also that this is the public higher educational system. SOCAR, that means State Oil Company of Azerbaijan Republic. So in other words, as I mentioned, this is our traditional job for our nationality, for our Azerbaijanis. And talking about the innovations, talking about the new views related to educational system. So as you mentioned, we had one university, and most of the universities or faculties are related to the petroleum engineering, the chemical engineer and others. But there was another view related to the educational system. After Soviet Union, so we had new perspectives, new goals for Azerbaijan, for our government and for our nationality. Therefore, we decided as a part of the SOCAR to have new university in which educational system is going to be completely different. And for that reason, our educational system, bachelor degree, is consists of the 5 years. And the first year, which is mentioned as the foundation year, and in which we're trying to give information, trying to give the knowledge to the students, but not just a basic knowledge like the math, physics, chemistry, and others. Before that, we think that all the students should be able to understand, to introduce themselves to the whole world. And this is the first point. Therefore, students should be able to talk with international language, which is the English nowadays. And it's not just about the language, as the universe is completely changing, and we can understand that without ICT, without the technology, unfortunately, it's not possible to get any goals. Therefore, this is our main point, to give knowledge to our students, to give the good communication issues, and to give learn them how to use ICT or technologies nowadays. And here you can see some information related to the both undergraduate and graduate programs. As I mentioned, we started with just 2 programs in reality in undergraduate program, which are the petroleum engineers and chemical engineers. And later we enlarged number of the programs to the 7 in undergraduate. As well, we have 5 graduate programs, which are all in English. All education we have for both programs, undergraduate and graduate programs are in English, as you can see on the slide. So what is the main points? What are the main goals for our university? So clearly, we are giving knowledge to the students, theoretical knowledge, as it is in all universities, and we are trying to do our best. Our idea is that theoretical knowledge for the students, especially for the engineering students, cannot be enough. Therefore, we need to have additional supporting tools, which are one of which can be accepted as the laboratories. So we have in the previous slides, you could mention that we have undergraduate programs like petroleum engineers, chemical engineers, process automation engineering, this is the cybersecurity, computer engineers, and so on. And here we are mainly given the trying to underline the theoretical knowledges that we have during the lectures to practice all those knowledge in laboratories. But is there any difference between those laboratories that we have in BHOS and other universities? I will answer completely yes. What is the main difference between the laboratories we have in BHOS and other universities? As I mentioned that we are the university which is under SOCAR, State Oil Company of Azerbaijan Republic. That means we are not just the university, we are trying to be inside the industry. We are trying to understand the problems, the challenges related to the industry to be able to give those information, those knowledge to the students. Therefore, we are trying to not just manage the whole system related to the industry, and at the same time, we are trying to see all the parts of those industries in our university. In this slide, actually, you can see different laboratories, and most of those laboratories are established by different companies. For example, one of them was Italy company, Mayer Technimont. Another was by BP, Azerbaijan. At the same time, we have other projects like Ithaca projects, and all those laboratories are established related to the companies and to be able to give them possibility for the students to do their researches, to see the real applications that we are learning in theoretical, and to see all those points, all the realities in our laboratories. And is that enough? The second question was that, is that enough to have those laboratories in the university to be the part of the industry itself? Unfortunately, let me say that that's not enough. And therefore, we need to add another tools to give the students, which will be more reliable to see the goals, the challenges that we have in industry. And therefore, we are giving the chance for students to be in summer internship 3 times during the education. And totally, we have 18 credits, which is the mandatory for the students. And they are getting their summer internships, giving their presentation, and of course, by 18 credits, they can, it's directly influenced to their GPA. And in each, in summer internship, they have like 4 weeks internship, and they are trying to be in different parts of the SOCAR and different companies. It can be international companies, it can be local companies that we have in Azerbaijan. And at the same time, we're giving the possibility, the chance for the students to be in different parts of the world to have that internship. So for example, the first picture that we can see here, this is from SOCAR Turkey. And our students were there for internship. There are the petchem at the same time SOCAR SAR, where students can have the internship to see the real processes, chemical processes, petrochemical processes, and to be part of those processes. Another question, is it possible for the students to participate in different companies or in different parts of the world for industrial practice or summer internships? Yes, of course. So we're trying to manage to give all chances for the students within the Azerbaijan or out of the borders. And let's say the companies that the partners for Baku Higher Oil School, and it means our students can have the internships, their internship for the given companies, international companies. Additionally, we have the local companies which are suitable for the students to be their internship as well. And one of the main differences, maybe it's not so unique for the US or for the European universities, but for Azerbaijan universities, it's very big opportunity to have the campus at the same time, campus life. So we have dormitories for the students, we have sport facilities for the students, and at the same time, you can see the canteen, and all facilities are provided for the students, and means for the students that are free of charge. So why should we choose Baku Higher Oil School, and what are the unique properties of Baku Higher Oil School? I'll mention most of them, but let me underline again some of them, the main points. Again, we are public university, we are not private, so means anyone from Azerbaijan and even from out of the Azerbaijan, the foreign students can apply and accepted by this university. Our educational system is completely in English, so we are giving the education for students and therefore trying to give the best English knowledge to the students in the first year to be able to continue later. Curriculums are based on the mostly European and even some of them the US countries. So we had actually curriculum based on the Heriot-Watt University for 2 majors, chemical and petroleum engineers, and later we decided to enlarge. We had the 4% automation engineers, we had agreements with the Bulgarian universities and others as well. We're trying to give such opportunities for the students, knowledge and opportunities for the students, like internship, as I mentioned, that they can find their jobs. So there are 3 times, at least 3 times are on the field, let's say, and therefore they can find their jobs by themselves. And of course, as I mentioned about the facilities, general facilities, like we have very good facilities in our campus for the students, and the dormitories, we have tried to give our best for the educational system. That means we are giving the opportunity for the students to continue their educations in Azerbaijan and of course in abroad, and giving the facilities so that they can find the higher paid jobs opportunities for the future. So in this slide, anyone can enter to our website, bhos.edu.az, and have the tour, virtual tour, in which you can see the campus, the facilities, all the laboratories and other facilities in our campus. And that is the QR code by which anyone can scan and enter again to the parts of related to our campus and to see the reality and other additional information, of course. This is all from my side. I think there can be the questions, and we can continue with the question and answer session.
Super. Let's continue. Dara, if it's okay, I will start. And again, look, when disclaimer, I visited this university and I was very impressed. It's in fact located in the very place near Baku where the first in the world oil industrial process started. So Baku is a cradle of oil industry. As I remember, famous European companies first came, like Nobel, etc. So the university located exactly near this old oil field. And SOCAR is one of the big state oil companies, like in Saudi Arabia or Norway. Why does this company need a special university? If they can buy any good engineer in the world. I would understand if they need corporate university to update skills of their current employees. But why should they bother with foundation year? Often, by the way, when we talk to employers, they reluctant to invest in undergraduate degrees. They say, okay, we can co-finance master program, but we don't care about, because these bachelors, they will go elsewhere. So why?
Okay, that's very good question. Thank you for that. Let me to explain. You have been in Azerbaijan, you know about the post-Soviet countries, let's say, the structure of the education, the main ideas, and so on. Let me to just briefly say that before 19th, like 30 years ago, educational language in Soviet Union was just Russian. And minor number of this, let's say, society can know any other languages, like English or others, French or others. So means the most of the engineers that we have in Azerbaijan and in other countries like in Kazakhstan, like in Georgia or in Russia, they know only Russian, and they are not able to communicate with other engineers. And I think it was in one of the trainings, I'm not sure in which, but someone mentioned that it's not easy to change mind of the academicians. And this is the hardest part, actually. So therefore, we had very good university related, several universities, actually. And petroleum engineers and chemical engineers are one of the main subjects or main jobs for the Azerbaijani people. That's correct. But changing the minds of those universities, the managing the different way is a little bit difficult. And having this new university, that means new ideas. So new people, and even I will say the young people, which will bring young blood, which will bring new ideas. And we are on the middle of the BHOS district, as you mentioned, which is one of the main parts, I will say, which is the heart of the petroleum for Azerbaijan, for Baku. And we try to have the new ideas, and we are trying to manage our educational system as we have international sphere. So we are trying to give the curriculum with the same with the same curriculum strategies as in US universities, in UK universities, or other European Union universities, and to be able to understand and to be able to bring all those additional informations, all that curriculums, all those reference textbooks. Of course, we need to have unique language, international language, in other words. That language is English. And all our reference textbooks and all the textbooks we are using during the education are published in other countries. And therefore, by traditional way, unfortunately, that was not impossible. That was just impossible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And therefore, we are giving, firstly, English to our students to be able to continue with those textbooks starting from the second year till fifth year.
Dara, before I see that you want to jump, but just to clarify another small. So I've got idea, still interesting that the company considers this as a reasonable investment. What I was surprised when I visited your university, you have on the wall, you have a list of students that came with so-called President scholarship. Yes. Because Azerbaijan has this unified university entry exam. And yes, as I understand, your university gets, even it's relatively small, gets more these super excellent students that for the first year. So what is attractive to them? Just high salaries in the industry? And how do you use this fact that these are students really excellent?
Okay.
What do you change in pedagogy having these bright girls and boys?
Actually, I will say this is one of the points we are proud of. So most of the universities are trying to get the students with the high scores. Of course, dealing with the high score students in somehow is very easy because it's easy to teach something to them, but at the same time, it's very hard because we are dealing with the brilliant students. And how we are gathering them? Actually, in Azerbaijan, we have just one exam, entrance exam. This is the organized, centralized exam. And according to the grades or marks of those exams, students can choose the university. And we are the number one in terms of the number of the students who can get presidential scholarship. In each year, there are just 102 students who can get that scholarship. And even this year for Baku Higher Oil School, the number was 33. It means like 30% of the students from all subjects, it's all programs. It's not just about the engineering. We have here law, international relationships, medicine, and others. So just 102 students can get that scholarship, and 33 of them are in Baku Higher Oil School. How we gather those students? Of course, we are giving such opportunity for the students that we are giving international education. We are giving in the base of the international curriculums. We are giving the opportunity for students like scholarships, additional scholarships. We are giving to the students opportunity for summer internships. And one of the facts again about our university is that number of the students who continue education abroad for master degrees, for PhD degrees. And this is also very famous for our university students, for choosing the university for those students.
Thank you. So we have a picture now. Dara, you may explore further.
Yes, so I want to start with the number of clarifying questions. Your graduates, what percentage of them goes to SOCAR roughly, and where do the rest go?
Okay, so the graduates, we're very young university. Let me say that we, as I mentioned, we are just started like 13 years right now, and educational was started with undergraduate programs. A number of the undergraduate programs, undergraduate students are much more than the graduate students, of course. And if we will look at the last 3 years after pandemic, let's say, number of the students that we have that continue their education is approximately 30%. Majority are continuing their education abroad in the US or in the European countries. Small portion are continuing their education in Azerbaijan. But coming to the other parts, which is like 50-60, between 50-60%, they are continuing their life with the jobs. And they are continuing in different parts. It's not just only SOCAR. There is no limitation. At the same time, they can continue their life. They can continue for job opportunity in different parts, like the companies, international companies that we have, Azerbaijan, like BP. We have, for example, Halliburton. We have the companies, the part of the companies like the ABB and others as well. So I cannot be able to define exactly the portions for international companies and for SOCAR, but generally it is between around 60% who want to continue with the jobs, who continue their life as engineers.
Yeah, but again, Dara asked specifically about SOCAR, Because the company invests.
So the majority is SOCAR. I may make the mistakes,
Roughly,
but it's approximately, if we will look at the 50-60%, to continue in the job opportunities who are dealing with the job opportunities. So most probably it will be like 70% out of those students.
Out of the, so
Graduates, yes.
okay.
So in other words, we are giving engineers to the SOCAR. This is the main idea. This is the one of the main purposes, establishing of this university.
No, but it means that around 40% of all of your graduates goes to SOCAR. So it's quite generous of them.
Still, okay, so let's kind of put that fact on the wall, on the mental wall of our discussion. A similar question, do you do research?
Yes, of course we do. We do, but the main idea when starting the process, for the university, the first purpose was about the education. So we established it under the SOCAR, as I mentioned, and we are giving a little bit less than half of the number of the students who graduate from our university becomes as an employee in SOCAR. So the main idea is give the young engineers, bright engineers to the state-owned company of Azerbaijan. At the same time, we have master degrees and PhD degrees, and therefore we have the graduate student at the same time. That means we started with the research as well.
Do you do contract research for the companies you collaborate with?
Yeah, we're on that part actually. And in one of the slides, I mentioned about the Italian company, Technion, which is actually established the research laboratory in Baku Higher Oil School, which is about chemical engineering. This is my part, and we are dealing in that laboratory. We are trying to modify the polymers and understand the structures of polymers.
And when we are talking about contract research in general, I'll ask a similar question. Which proportion of that is done for SOCAR specifically, or none, or like?
Yeah, no, there's no limitation. That our university is trying to not to be limited by SOCAR. So we are the part of the SOCAR. Clearly, this is our main company, but we are not trying to limit ourselves. So we have different partners and trying to be in contact and to collaborate with all companies, international and local companies.
So the reason I'm asking these questions, because I'm trying to understand the exact degree of symbiosis with SOCAR. And to me, and tell me whether I'm right, it seems like your university is like a young emancipated person. So it was born as a member of a specific family. It was meant to just provide personnel and do service for its parent company. And then it kind of became more and more independent, added some computer science. And I'm guessing you will be adding, if that trajectory I'm getting is, if my understanding is correct, I'm guessing in the future you'll be adding more fields of study. Is that anywhere in your plans?
Exactly. That's exactly what you mentioned, actually. So as you mentioned, the main purpose was to give qualified engineers for the SOCAR, but it's not the only, of course. We are trying to look at the other spheres as well. If you pay attention to the even undergraduate programs, we started with national jobs, opportunities, occupations actually, which are the petroleum and chemical engineering, and later we added to that list process automation, cybersecurity, computer science, computer engineering, and plus business administration. And our idea to enlarge that list, not to be limited in terms of the engineering or in terms of the those occupations, but increase number of the programs and to give that chance for more students, for more young people.
What's the next frontier? What's the next field you're adding?
Okay, so we have several ideas. It's not, unfortunately, I cannot publicly define, but it's going to be completely different spheres.
Okay, but just give us a hint. Humanities, social sciences?
No, we are out of the humanity. Let me just underline that part. We are out of the medicine, of course, but it's going to the branch of the what we have right now.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, may to continue what you said, but maybe more on pedagogical. So indeed, the organizational model is innovative, not innovative, but unusual. Baku Higher Oil School is different. But in terms of pedagogy, in fact, you address very important challenge of giving students practical skills, but it's not about just concrete skills. Often we hear from practitioners in higher education that today's students do not understand the real world, right? And you have very extensive internship program, which is not voluntary, it's mandatory. And it's quite big every summer for 2 months. Am I correct? Yes?
1 month.
1 month, but it's still a lot. And but do you measure somehow this practical preparedness? Because we often measure this thing also by measuring skills, kind of exams. But how? What is the pedagogy around these preparing students for real world?
Okay, so that was very challenging for the students, and let me just say that honestly that for the first years, the managing of that internship was a little bit hard for us as well. It was difficult for the students to understand the main aim and for some of the stuff the same way to manage for all students internships, to grade them later, to listen to the presentations, to understand all those points and so on. But now it's not just like challenge, but instead it is one of the wonderful parts of the education for us, for students and for the teachers as well, because we also can have the chance to go to that plants, to see the real world, to see the problems. How can we manage for the students to understand engineering world and engineering language? So during the theory, we are given the knowledge that we have in the books. And if we are looking to the engineers, actually, those students or the future engineers should see the real world, or to see for example, the pumps, to see the heat exchangers, to see the separators, to see the refinery and other parts. Otherwise, all those knowledge is going to be just theoretical, and they will not understand how to handle. And this should see even in some cases the problems inside the plants, inside the industry. And we are, in other words, preparing them, as you mentioned, to the real world, which they are going to face after a few years. And they will see the problems, they will be able to see the challenges, and within the graduation for the students, it's easy to switch from the university to the real world, to the industry, because they have been several times within that industry. They have seen the real cases. They have seen how the engineers decide about the cases, how to handle the cases. And therefore, for our students, for our graduates, to adaptation as the engineers is very short and very easy.
But still, few details missing for me. So, for example, when I can imagine, look, you have this nerds, very bright students, both male and female, and they know only how to sit and study. That's what they did all their life to get into this super prestigious university. And it's not just that, okay, they now see the petroleum, how you call it, equipment, not only in the book, but in reality. But the most difficult thing, as you mentioned, is to understand how the company works, how engineers work, how do you prepare them for internship? How do you have some reflection of the internship? Because for me, it sounds super interesting, like putting indeed this real world experience into, putting our students into this real world experience.
Okay, as I mentioned, the first years, for the second year students, it's not easy to be in the plan for 4 weeks to see, and in most cases it's like introduction for themselves and they cannot understand the whole points, but we are trying to get used. The first year may not be so effective, but for the second year, for the third year, they will analyze, they will be able to understand. And you are mentioned that the students with the high grades are male, like sitting and just reading something, but the real world for the students is not like that. Nowadays, students are more exhausted, actually. They are more challenging. They like to face with a challenge. And it's not the same for the students nowadays. And they are very happy, actually, to see all the units, the real units and real life. At least for the second and third years, for the second and third internships, they're completely different and starting to think and analyze and even act as engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So Sauda, you must forgive me my next question. I've been reading about the future of higher education for the last 2 months, so I'm very future focused.
Mm-hmm.
Which possible ways of creating even more practical, even more opportunities for practical experience, making learning even more immersive in terms of industry, do you envision for the future of your university? What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about implementing? What ideas circulate among your faculty about this? Okay,
so the educational system is unfortunately is not changeable so much. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, so for academicians, it's not easy to change the structures. But if we will look at even a few years ago, during the pandemic, so we were forced to change. We changed the structure of education. We changed it, even all the lectures. We didn't have any rooms for the lectures. We had just one laptops with us and trying to manage everything by laptops to understand. And I will say that the views of for students also change, even mainly from after pandemic, and they are not the same students. They are not the same strategy students, I will say. And nowadays, they are more likely to have everything that's touchable, let's say. They can touch, they can see, they can understand. And nowadays, students are not likely to have the books with several pages to read all of them, to understand, and they become somehow different. And therefore, we need to change the educational system, unfortunately. It's not the get used one, but there should be some changes. And I think that for those students, at least for bright students who want to continue their education, who wants to improve themselves, and for those students, we need to give such opportunities and to give in some cases, to give the chances to be outside of the boxes, to think outside of the box.
When I visited, still, you know, I guess that very good students are very similar still. They like to learn. But when I visited your university, I remember that in a couple of laboratories, and it was after normal academic hours, there were quite a few students. So those students who are on campus, do they have an opportunity to, do they have kind of projects they work on? Because I understand that your program is academically is very challenging and rigorous, and you have internship. But you didn't mention any projects or thesis that they have to do by the end of the graduation. If yes, what they do for that?
Okay, so we are giving the chances. So laboratories are open, as you mentioned, that they can be in laboratories after the classes. We are not, so we are trying to not to limit any students in any part. So they can be in laboratories to the working with the groups or with the assistants or others. And it can be just graduate students, fresh years, even it can be the last year for their thesis as well, as you mentioned. And we are trying to not just give education right now. One of the new challenges for our university is about having new innovations for students to have, for example, nowadays it's very popular to have the hackathons between students, and we trying to give the opportunity for the students to participate all those hackathons, ideathons, or other parts. And if they have any idea, if they want to just try that idea, try to realize that idea, we are giving to that chance as well. And some of those students that you have seen, maybe the graduate students as well for master degrees, they are doing some experiments for their master thesis. I'm not sure which laboratory that was and which students, but again, for our students, there's no limitations and they can participate in any hackathons, let's say, or other parts, and in Technofest or others. I will say that, of course, it's not possible to say they within the world, but for the Azerbaijan, the number of the students who get the first degrees or the second degrees, the hackathons that we have in Azerbaijan, the number of the students from BHOS is quite large.
Dara, my last question, okay? Yeah. May I ask about, again, you have very good students. You do not charge any tuition. You are free state university. What about equity issues? Are all your students from educated, relatively rich families? And in this case, why do you need English? Because usually I know that educated families in Caucasus, they like to give their students good language training. Do you have any consideration on that matter?
So actually, I do not have exact statistics related to that part to give the exact answer to you, but I will say that approximately half of the students nowadays is out of the Baku, but they are coming from the other regions. So means if we will consider the economical states or educational state of those parents, again, I cannot give the exact number, but let me just say that we have a dormitory actually, which is the full of the students who are the other regions of Azerbaijan. They are not from the Baku, originally Baku. And that means it's not possible to say exactly that all the parents or the economic status of the
I
students.
see. Okay.
Yeah, they are completely different, vary from the minimum to the maximum.
Okay.
Mhm.
Dara?
Savda, so we have a traditional question we ask to every guest of our webinar, which is the advice an innovative university leader would give to other leaders. And I like to modify that question depending on the case we are working with. So for you, what would you advise corporate universities with a standard corporate mandate who have started thinking about expanding into new areas, adding new functions, maybe working with other companies? What should be step number one?
Okay, so it's a little bit hard, tough question to me actually, unexpected question, but one of the main ideas for our university is actually was like that students shouldn't be apart from us. They shouldn't be like accepted as the other side. So we accept the student as the same side we are. So we are getting ideas, we are getting knowledge, we are trying to get new information from the students. Not to think that they are students, it's not possible to give the any idea or any valuable idea. Instead, we think that they are students with a bright mind and which can actually change the world. And this is one of my own how to say practice. I am telling to my students that I will learn. I'm sure that I will learn something from you at the end of this semester. That's the reality. So they are the open students. They are really very bright and very open mind. And therefore, we need to use their energy. We need to use their idea. And we need to use their idea for our universities, for our educational system. Not to think that they are completely different from us, not to think that we may know more than them. I think everything depends on our future depends on those students. So therefore, we need to gather our forces, or we need to gather together to have the better education system for the future.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that,
Thank you.
we close our webinar first in 2025. See our webinars on YouTube, in LinkedIn, and stay tuned.